Hello everyone, my name is Ricardo Castrillon, and I'm here today to talk about my 2025 watch collection. I do have more watches than the 12 you see here on screen, but these are the ones I see myself gravitating more on a day-to-day basis. The collection, in my opinion, is rather unique since there is such a variety of different types of watches, but for now, I want to get started with the Gruin Alarm. Now, the Gruin Alarm is a pretty interesting watch. It is from the 1970s, and it does have a wonderful function called a alarm function. Like modern day watches, a lot of them do have alarm functions, but back in the day in the 1970s, they had a vibration. This Gruin Precision, in my opinion, is a beautiful piece of work. I love the colorway on this watch, and it actually uses this function to remind you as you wear the watch to either wake up in the 1970s or to go to certain meetings. Now, I use this function mainly for meetings in today's day and age, but I can't see any modern takes on this function in any sort of modern watches, considering cell phones are such a big deal nowadays. The next watch we're about to witness is a Hamilton Electronic from the 1970s. It is an absolutely amazing watch, and I love the case shape on this specific model. It is called a cushion case, considering it kind of does look like a pillow. Something really cool about this watch, if you notice, is that the seconds hand is actually not ticking. It is actually sweeping across the dial in a rather modern fashion, like a lot of modern day watches nowadays. But the gold on this watch is absolutely stellar, and it has been kept in rather good shape. This watch I purchased without knowing if it was fully functioning, and to my surprise, it came with its original ribbed bracelet. And I love this bracelet. It feels very comfortable. The only issue is that the bracelet is pretty small. To find bracelets like this in the secondhand market is extremely difficult unless you're buying it with the watch already. So I kind of have to deal with the way it fits on my wrist. Here's the watch on my wrist, and again, it does look absolutely immaculate considering it's from the 1970s. The only issue is that it does kind of cut off my circulation, but I use it sparingly and whenever I'm doing any quick trips. That's the main issue for me at the moment with this specific watch. It may be something where I may have to sell it later on in the future, but considering this condition, I would want to keep it in my collection for a little while. The next watch I want to bring up is going to be this Omega Automatic from the 1960s, and this watch actually keeps amazing time, and I love its simplicity compared to all the other watches I have in my collection. When it comes to vintage pieces, it's really difficult to acquire a watch that is already pretty much serviced, and this watch hasn't been serviced to my knowledge, but it keeps perfect time. The way it looks on wrist is absolutely immaculate as well. It is just an Omega that you can wear with a suit or you can wear it with normal day-to-day attire. The only thing with the mesh band is that it does get a couple hairs here and there, but it is not a deal breaker for me to wear this watch. The next watch I have is a Omega Constellation chronograph that was made probably around the years 2000s to 1990. I love the way this watch looks on wrist. And yes, it is a quartz-based movement, and a lot of people say that they would rather have a automatic watch. And to them, I do agree. I do love mechanical and automatic watches. But when I do find a watch like this so clean in its condition, it's something where it's a no-brainer, especially for the price point of which I bought it for. The watch itself does have actual 18 karat gold accents on it, whether it be on the bezel or on the links themselves. And the pusher and the crown are actually 18 karat gold as well. The chronograph function works just the same as any other watch. You click the top button in order for the chronograph to start, you click it again to stop, and you click the bottom pusher in order to fully reset the watch to its original position. This watch actually works wonderfully, especially on a day-to-day basis, and I love wearing it with pretty much anything I have in my wardrobe. In terms of the way it looks on my wrist, it looks actually really proportionate, and the quartz movement allows it to be a little bit more on the slimmer side, and it feels really comfortable whenever I'm wearing it day to day. The next watch I want to bring up is actually something that I find very underrated in today's day and age, and is this Longines Mainliner. Longines is a company that has been around for many generations, and it's an absolutely amazing watch to look at. Yes, this watch is small, but considering it was made in the 1930s/40s, the watch is in immaculate condition. The bracelet itself is not original to the watch, but I do believe that it accents the watch in a very special way. Now, this watch is neither automatic or quartz based. It is a mechanical wind watch. So as you can see, the second hand is actually not moving at all. But the moment I actually wind this watch, it actually makes several different kinds of clicks until it finally starts moving the second time. And a lot of the time, these vintage watches, that's the way they function. A lot of people will wake up in the morning, wind their watch for the day, and head off. Meanwhile, automatic watches, which also were being made back then, became a lot more common. Now, you don't see mechanical wound watches, especially in today's modern day, unless it's accompanied by automatic movement. I do love the idea of just waking up, winding your watch, setting it to its correct time, and setting off for the rest of the day. It's something special within that experience that I do tend to love a lot. It is in beautiful condition, and I love wearing it, especially with formal attire. It has a very low profile, and I love the way it sits on the wrist. Although many people may think it's small, I do believe that it actually fits quite proportionate considering its size. The watch itself sits absolutely beautifully. I love the way it looks, although some people say it does fit a little bit more on the smaller side. Considering this watch was made in the 1930s and 40s, everything back then was extremely small. And I personally believe that this watch was more on the bigger side considering it was made in the 1930s and 40s. And while I do love that watch a lot, my favorite color when it comes to anything I wear is green. And when I first saw this specific Hamilton, I fell in love. I call this my Hamilton Alien Head, although I'm not entirely sure if that is the actual name for the watch. The actual case shape reminds me of an alien. This watch was absolutely stunning when I first got it, and although the bracelet is not its original bracelet, I feel like it fits the watch quite well. Now the watch band is a little bit more on the beat up side, considering the watch head is actually relatively nice. The dial on this watch is actually very special. I haven't really seen one in this kind of condition, especially in this color. A lot of the times with these watches, they do tend to bubble up inside considering they allow for condensation to start building up within the actual watch. I did get this watch serviced recently and it runs absolutely beautifully. This honestly has to be the watch that I get the most compliments with considering it is so outlandish and so out there. A lot of people don't really see watches like this in today's day and age, so being able to wear something like this and people being able to question it is actually really cool. This Hamilton is considered an automatic watch. It is called a self-winding watch, but it does have a rotor inside. On my wrist, considering it was made in the 1970s, fits quite well. It fits really, really large considering its case size, and is actually a very interesting timepiece considering it kind of concaves with your wrist. This watch is something I do get a lot of compliments on considering it is very outlandish and very out there, but these kind of watches that are especially this unique are something I love to have in my collection. The next watch I have up is rather an interesting one. It is a Sheffield skin diver, and if you don't know what a skin diver is, it is basically a diver's watch, but a little bit more on the slimmer side. These watches typically have ratings anywhere from 100 meters to 300 meters, but they're not as thick and as dense as traditional dive watches. But then again, they also don't have the same amount of water resistance. This watch is especially special because of the date wheel. A lot of Sheffields out there don't actually have day-date functions, and this one has both, and it runs absolutely beautifully. This watch is not an automatic watch, it is a mechanically wound watch as well. So people will wake up in the morning, wind it, and set off and go on with the rest of their day. The bezel does rotate, and I'm pretty sure that something is missing within the actual bezel itself because it does rotate both ways. The case on this one is not as nice as the other watches I have here on display, but this watch was meant to get beaten up. Skin divers and dive watches in general are not going to be sitting pretty for a very long time because they are more considered a working man's watch, and this watch is no different. Skin divers and divers do have a reputation of getting beat up considering they are not formal wearing watches, and for this watch it is expected. At some point I would like to find another case that I can put this dial in, but for now it sits as is. Again, since it is a skin diver, it sits relatively low profile and I don't have to worry about my hand banging into any doors or anything of that nature. The next watch up is a Peugeot from the 1970s/80s. Peugeot is a Russian-made brand, and I know and I understand everything going on with Russia at the moment, but back in the day, they did make some pretty nice watches. Vostok is another well-known Russian brand that a lot of people like to wear. I know nowadays people don't really wear it considering everything that's going on with the world, but this is one of those watches that I do like in my collection. People like to say that this movement is extremely similar or is the same as a Valjoux movement from that time era. Although I do see some differences between the two movements is basically identical. The watch itself is rather interesting with a gray dial with a blue rotating insert in the inside. Now this watch is a chronograph with the top pusher being the start, the stop, and the bottom pusher being the reset. The wrist presence of this watch is actually fantastic and it fits my wrist size really well. The next watch I have up is a Omega Janev from the 1970s as well. It comes with its original band and looks absolutely stunning considering its age. Now, this watch originally belonged to a man called Walter Wilson in the 1970s, and he received it for working 25 years in the New York Telephone Company. And it looks as if he hasn't worn the watch a single day in his life. The watch runs beautifully and I have zero issues with it. The bracelet itself is quite rare and is in absolutely immaculate condition. To have a watch like this in my collection is actually very special to me, and I don't see myself selling this watch at all. It goes with basically anything, whether you want to go more on the dressy side or casual. The crystal itself is plastic, so as long as I don't scratch it too bad, it should look absolutely beautiful for a very long time. The next watch I have up is actually a Swiss Army watch, and a lot of people don't actually talk about this brand all that much anymore, but I do love a lot of their vintage pieces. This is a quartz watch from the 90s, 80s era, and it looks absolutely beautiful. The bracelet is not a bracelet that I've seen all that often, and it fits wonderfully on the wrist. It has a butterfly-like clasp, and it fits really well. The dial is another thing that I love on this watch, and its numerals are very unique. And of course, condition when it comes to a lot of these vintage pieces is everything that you want to know about a watch. I love the way this watch looks on the wrist, and its presence is really slim profile. And it just goes to show to buy what you like and to buy something that you are willing to wear day to day. It doesn't matter if it's an Omega, if it's a Rolex, as long as you like the watch and you're willing to wear it, that should be the main thing when it comes to watch collecting. The next watch I have up is rather interesting. It's a Tissot from the 1970s, possibly even 80s, and it is very unique considering its case and the way it looks. The condition on it is absolutely fantastic for its age. It does have a day and date function, and considering it is actually cheaper than the modern day Tissot PRX, it makes you wonder what other watches are out there by these companies that look absolutely stunning and for a better price point. Although the PRX does look absolutely amazing, for me, I love stuff that is unique and something that I'm not going to be able to find on other people's wrists. And this is something that definitely hits that spot. Tissot as a company has a lot of history, and a lot of their vintage pieces are actually very affordable. Now, I do understand this watch may not be everybody's cup of tea, but it is absolutely stunning on wrist. The bracelet is original to the watch, and genuinely, the only scratches it has is probably because of me wearing it. I received the watch in absolutely beautiful condition, and it had almost zero signs of wear. Now, the watch on the wrist looks stunning in my opinion, and I love the way it looks compared to a lot of its modern day counterparts. And although the PRX is an absolutely amazing watch, and I do recommend many people to get that watch, this is just something unique and something that I see myself wearing a lot more. The last and final watch I have in this collection is actually an Orient. A lot of vintage Orient watches have absolutely spectacular dials, and this 25 jewels Orient is no different. It has almost a sparkly / rainbow dial, and it's a head turner whenever I go around wearing it. It's very unique in many different ways. Although the band is not original to the watch, I still feel that it fits pretty well. If you notice, there is a button on the top of this Orient that actually changes the day wheel and scrolls through the wheel as you continue to push it. When you think of Orient's modern day counterparts, you don't see a watch like this available at all. And that's exactly why I love it so much. And it's just one of those fun watches that I like to have in my collection. I would like to know what you guys have on the wrist today. You guys let me know in the comments, and if you have any questions about my collection or anything else that I have, please feel free to let me know. Now, these 12 watches don't encompass my whole collection. I will probably have a part 2 video coming very soon with other Seikos and Omegas that I do have in my collection. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.